Welcome back. Let's continue to improve this photograph. We'll go ahead and zoom in on the face. Now, some of you may be thinking, yeah, there's some other areas I really want to work on, like the overall tone and color and everything. We'll be getting to that. So we just have to be patient, right, and work on this other stuff first. All right, well, let's go ahead and create a new layer. Shift-Command-N on a Mac, Shift-Control-N on a PC. We'll name this one R2 for Retouch 2. I'm going to zoom way in on this particular area. There's quite a bit of hair here that I want to start to clean up. So we'll go ahead and press the S key to select the clone stamp tool. Currently, I have an opacity of 30. I want to change that to 100 quickly. You can do that by pressing the 0 key on your keyboard. I also want to take this to a blend mode of lighten. On a Mac, what you can do is press Shift-Option-G. On a PC, that's Shift-Alt-G in order to go to that blend mode. The reason I share that shortcut is because that's a blend mode that you'll be using quite often for this clone stamp tool. Now, my opacity is up really high. I'm going to go ahead and try to use that. So I'll bring my brush down by pressing left bracket key. I'll Option click on a Mac, Alt click on a PC, and start to paint over this. Now, in this case, it's working okay, but it's still a little bit high. So I want to lower that. So I press a 7 to go to 70%. Holding the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC. And again, all that I'm interested in doing is starting to remove or reduce some of these little darker hairs that I'm seeing here. So I'll go ahead and make my way through this with a small brush first, just getting out the ones that are a little bit too strong, too prominent, too big. And the trick with a lot of this retouching is what you want to do is you want to do this retouching in a way that it's not noticeable, right? And that's one of the reasons why we're using this small little brush. And when you think about it, if you're painting something, let's say with a brush, and you use a small brush, you can get into details, and the brush strokes aren't as noticeable. But when you use a huge brush, you really see those brush strokes. So that's why we're getting in here so close and using this nice small little brush here. All right, well, so far so good. We're able to remove a lot of the stronger hairs that we're seeing in here. Our texture isn't perfect, and the overall retouching isn't perfect, but we're okay with that because we know we're going to progress into things. So in a sense, you really have to have that vision or that patience for where you're going. Here's my before and then after. It's looking better, right? This area I want to start to take down. So I'm going to create a new layer because I'm not quite sure how high of an opacity I want. Shift-Command-N on a Mac, Shift-Control-N on a PC. We'll name this R3. Now with this same tool, I'm going to go ahead and make my brush quite a bit bigger. I'm going to press 4 to go to 40%, and then I'll Option-click a nice sample area of skin here, and I'm going to just start to bring this brightness value in. And as I do that, I'm doing some pretty heavy lifting, so to speak. I'm making some pretty significant changes. So I'm going to go back and forth across this. And as I do that, one of the things that's going to happen is I may go too far. And the nice thing about having this particular retouching on its own layer is I can modify this and I can lower the opacity of what I've done here in order to sweeten it up a bit, make my brush a little bit smaller, and then get into these small little areas as well. On this edge, just get in there. Again, all that I'm looking to do is to try to reduce and simplify here. All right, let's keep going with this and go through some of these other areas as well. Make my brush a little bit bigger here, and I'll go ahead and work on these areas over here. All right, well, it's not amazing, as I mentioned. Let's zoom out a little bit so we can see how that looks. Here's our before and then after. It isn't amazing, but it is an improvement, right? So what do I need to do in order to make this better? Well, I need to clone on top of it. I need some texture back in the mix because what happened was when I was doing that lighten blend mode, I did a really good job at brightening that up, but then at the same time, I have a texture that doesn't quite match. It doesn't quite fit. So I'll just go ahead and add some texture on top of that. And I'm going to go in here too and just try to clean up this just a touch here, even out the tones that I'm seeing there. And the trick with all of this, of course, is we don't need this to be perfect. We just want it to be clean. We want it to be nice and simple. All right, making our way through here. Press the S key, go back to that clone stamp tool. I'm going to change the shape of this area a little bit more. All right, well, let's take a look at how we're doing. We'll zoom out a little bit and see how this looks. Here's our overall before and then after. Really nice cleanup work there, right? Kind of smoothing those areas out. I think I want to smooth them out even a little bit more. I want to experiment, though, with my opacity. So I'll go ahead and take down my opacity a bit. When I take down my opacity, what I'm going to see is that it's going to start to come in just a little bit there. That may work for this particular retouch because, again, you don't want to remove it all together so that you lose the shape or the way the neck actually works there. And again, I'm just going to click my before and after and say, you know what, I think that's looking pretty good. Zoom in a touch. And one of the things I want to do here is, while I've fixed this edge up, this right here doesn't look quite natural of a line. for me. So I'm going to create another layer. Shift-Command-N on a Mac, Shift-Control-N on a PC. Name this one R4. And here what I'm going to try to do is just bring this in a little bit. So I'll go ahead and go back to my normal blend mode. And you can do that by way of shortcut. Shortcut's going to be Shift-Option-N on a Mac, Shift-Alt-N on a PC, or you can always select it here from the pull-down menu. All right, well, I'm going to Option-click on the hair. I want to just bring the hair in a little bit. And it's kind of funny, right? I was all into removing the hair, but now I want to add a little bit more because what I saw happen was that shape, that little curve there didn't look natural. Now that the hair was gone, that looks much better. So here's our overall before and then after with that area. Nice work. I think that's looking pretty good. Just zoom in to double check, make sure I'm going in a good direction. Grab that clone stamp tool or the healing brush. And there are a couple little lines I'm seeing here that would be nice to clean up. So I hold down the Option key on a Mac, Alt key on a PC, and sample a few little areas. All right, great. Well, we've now successfully cleaned up that area of the image. We need to move up to this area, and we'll continue to work on this hair removal in the next movie.